lawstory.com. This was just published 30 minutes ago, May 11th, 2020, by Sky Palma. Sheriff's deputy fired after bringing an armed all-white mob to black teen's home. This doesn't happen. Huh? You self-haters out there. This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen among Negroes. It doesn't happen among our people, huh? A North Carolina sheriff's deputy is facing criminal charges after he allegedly led a group of armed individuals to the wrong home in search of a missing girl, Time reports. According to New Hanover County District Attorney Ben David, Jordan Keita, who was employed by the New Hanover Sheriff's Office, will be charged with trespassing and breaking and entering. So you see, white mobs run up in black people's houses all the time. They just don't get caught. They have laws that protect them. It just so happened this guy got caught. He and his lynch mob. So those of you like the Queen, Candace Owens, and you other haters, self-haters of your own people, just do some research for a change that has to do with the agenda that's destroying our people. If I'm lying, if this is fake, then how in the world is this being reported? And this guy was a legitimate North Carolina sheriff's deputy. Okay, he's facing criminal charges for leading a lynch mob. They won't say lynch mob, but it's a group of armed individuals, white guys. You see it right here, all white mob to a black teen's home, looking for a missing person, a missing girl. So this is not the one time it happened and the coincidence of the one time it happened. This is a habit of this behavior by the supremacist agenda.
Hello, Facebook. Haven't done a video in a while, and I wanted to be sure to insert my opinion about this very viral case of Ahmaud Arbery, who is being dubbed as just a jogger by the media. And I just kind of want to talk about really just the media's role in propaganda and how upsetting it is to me that Black America always seems to take the bait. Like, I have to say, this case, after all of the work that I have done these last 3 or 4 years to wake Black America up to the fact that every election cycle there is some story that they perpetuate that is supposed to make us think that we are being chased by the Ku Klux Klan. And yet here we are, a couple of months away from an election, and there are Black people running around saying that we are being lynched in Georgia. So let's just start with just the case and how it's been being reported. So first, you are hearing that it is a modern day lynching. That should instantly, if you are a Black American and American, make your ears perk up a little bit, because there are not really modern day lynchings that are taking place in America. There are not lynchings taking place in general. I mean, even at the time, at the height of the civil rights movement, when Black people were actually being lynched, it was approximately 3,500 Black people that were lynched from the entire period of 1882 all the way up until 1968. All right. So that's actually a very low number relative. Not saying that lynching is okay, obviously, but a very low number relative to the population that we had at that time, or the population that we had all the way up until 1968. So lynchings are not common in general. The idea that people are going around lynching people in 2020 America, you can already know and you can smell that something is wrong with the story. All right, so before I even saw the video, because I just was interested in the reaction to see how far people were going to take it, I saw that LeBron James issued a tweet, which quite frankly must have been the dumbest thing I have ever read. The tweet was that we are literally, we meaning Black people, we are literally being hunted as soon as we walk outside of our own homes. So this is either laugh out loud funny or really stupid. In my opinion, it's both. LeBron James doesn't even touch his own car door handles. LeBron James is currently building a multi-million-dollar, $100 million estate in Bel Air right now. And LeBron James has a white chef. He's got white housekeepers. LeBron James is somebody that has white people waiting on him hand and foot because he is successful and he has a lot of money, and that's what comes with money and success. So the idea that he is out there perpetuating some idea that Black Americans are literally being hunted for walking outside of their doors is pointedly ridiculous and should have made everybody go, okay, this is really dumb. So I finally look at the video. I'm expecting, based on all of the rhetoric, on all of the articles, which is saying that it's an example of a modern lynching, I'm fully expecting to see a video of a mob of white people, maybe with a rope, maybe with some guns, just marching down the street towards a Black person so that they can kill him and make a mockery of him. That's what you should have expected based on the rhetoric that was perpetuating, and everybody was outraged left and right because of this 10-second clip. What I actually saw watching the video left me with more questions than answers. First and foremost, he was not being pursued in the video, obviously. It looked like he was running towards the car, and then when the two people who had guns, he went around and he attacked the person. So that actually left me with a lot of questions of, like, what is going on in this circumstance? Who is recording this video? Because the person who was recording the video was obviously catching up to the situation. He hadn't been trailing this person. And I just wanted to know, how did everybody watch this 10-second clip and instantly think that this person was completely just a jogger who was being lynched? I don't even understand how that came across. Secondly, I noticed in the video and after reading reports that he's wearing khaki shorts. So just an easy question to ask is, if you are just a jogger and he is being described in the media as an avid jogger. This is something he does all the time. I do not know any avid joggers that jog in khaki shorts. Now, again, that's a question. That is not insinuating anything. It just is saying that if you looked at the video, you probably should have had more questions than answers. And yet the media and everybody was issuing a verdict that this was some crazy situation where a couple of white people woke up and thought, you know what? Today, I want to lynch a Black person. And I think this is the right guy. I see someone, let's go for it. Let's get in our pickup bed and go find ourselves a Black person. That was actually just made no sense. But people rarely pause to think, because people are desperate to foster this race narrative in this country. And because there's not many examples of people being lynched or Black people being pursued on foot by white people, the media really drummed this one up. All right, so we instantly should have been asking ourselves, is this guy just a jogger? That was sort of bottom line. I thought, there's no way this guy was just jogging. And then you hear that the people that actually shot him had called 911. So for everybody that is saying that this person was, murdered, I can tell you right now, no matter how upset you are, this is not going to amount to a murder charge. The legal definition of a murder, you have to be able to prove that this was meditated, that there was some element of meditation. People do not call the cops before they murder someone. That is just not what somebody does. You don't pick up the phone and say, hi, 911, I'm about to go out and commit a murder. That doesn't make any sense, okay? Obviously, something went wrong. So this will amount and can amount to a manslaughter charge, maybe a manslaughter conviction. But this is not going to amount to a murder conviction, okay? He was not the only person that called 911. Multiple people throughout the neighborhood called 911 because they were reporting seeing a person entering in a property that was not theirs, that was under construction. Now, I've seen people who first said that this was all a lie and he was just a jogger, now pivot and say, okay, he just liked to look around at architecture in the neighborhood and that was a thing. Well, first and foremost, okay, just a jogger wearing khakis who decides to stop in the middle of a jog to go onto a property that isn't his and enter in a construction site, a garage or a house, whatever it is that was under construction, and go in and expects nobody to raise a red flag. That's pointedly ridiculous. What I hate about this, and what I always hate about, when Black America gets behind an issue like this, is that we can never argue and be reasonable. We can never say, okay, you know what? He should not have been on the property because he shouldn't have. You should never be trespassing on someone's property. We should not be pretending that it's normal behavior behavior to walk through construction sites, especially when there are no construction workers there in a private neighborhood. It's not like it was a building being built. It was on a quiet street. You walk up on somebody's property. He's not jogging in the video. He's walking slowly onto the property, and you enter a building. Of course, people are going to start to call 911. Okay, that escalated the situation in just his action of deciding to enter a property while he was on a jog in khaki pants. Obviously, escalated the situation, and people were calling 911. Then you have this guy who they start calling 911, and this guy who says he's going to make a citizen's arrest calls 911, gives them a description, and gets in his car with his son and has a shotgun. If the point of the debate that people were having was whether or not that action was smart, whether or not making a citizen's arrest is a good idea, you would probably find that everyone sort of agrees that it's not really the best thing to do. Calling 911 is usually enough. If I saw someone entering a property and I didn't think they lived there, I would call 911 and I would leave it alone. But that is not the argument that people are making. They are calling this a modern day lynching. They are calling this as something being motivated by race. This is not motivated by race. The second you call 911 and you're entering another property, the motivation behind somebody trying to figure out who you are in their neighborhood is not racially motivated. It's because you do not own the property that you are on. There is no reason for people to be injecting race into this narrative. Argue it on the basis of whether you think a citizen's arrest is valid. Argue it on the basis of whether you think that Ahmaud Arbery deserved to die. And I don't see a single person who has made the argument that they think that this man deserved to die. But arguing it on the basis and pretending that this was racially motivated, it's stupid. I mean, it's incredibly stupid. Beyond that, when people like LeBron James perpetuate this idea that black people are being murdered and hunted by white people, it defies common sense because it goes against every statistic in America. We have a culture issue in Black America because we constantly accept this lie that somehow we're the societal victims. When in fact, when you look at the stats, if you want to start playing the race game, we're going to be the ones that look bad. We represent 13% of the population, but we account for approximately 40% of all of the murders in this country. Whereas white people account for 61% of the population, more than half of the population, and they commit less murders than we do. You can't just go around pretending that we are the people that are constantly being oppressed and are the people that are constantly, being hunted down when we know that black people kill white people at 2 times a higher rate than the other way around. And I'm not saying this, by the way, to say all black people are horrible, and that's not the purpose of this. The purpose is to have a more honest conversation about what is going on in this country. The purpose is that every single time a murder happens, it doesn't mean that it's racially motivated. Sometimes things just go wrong. Obviously, a lot of stuff went wrong in that video that we saw, that 10-second clip of that person running. A lot of things went wrong. First and foremost, I bet the person who had the gun wasn't expecting him to be lunged at. Obviously, if he was out to hunt the black person, okay, he would have shot him at a distance. When you're out hunting, you don't wait for the thing that you're hunting to grab your gun and go back and forth. Obviously, we're not going to be able to prove the standard that he wanted to hunt him, but wanted to wait until the guy grabbed his gun and went and wanted to wrestle with him. That just defies common sense. If he wanted to kill the guy, he would have fired off a couple of shots before he got anywhere near him. I think he wanted to make the guy stop, and intimidate him and wait for the cops to get there because he was convinced that this was the guy that was recently burglarizing his home. Unfortunately, Ahmaud Arbery, who has a history, of crime, lunged at him, and things went off from there. And it's unfortunate that, this person ended up dead in a situation that didn't need to ever, culminate into a death. But what's going to happen is it's going to be a manslaughter charge, and the defense is going to argue for self-defense. He might entirely get off on a self-defense, claim in this case, because, like I said, Arbery did charge him. You can see the scuffle. You did charge him. Now, I'm not saying he should. I'm saying he could. So save your outrage for when that likely or could happen. From everything that I'm seeing of people perpetuating this and pretending that, this is anything more than just election fodder. When our media declined, they all had the video of him trespassing on property, and none of them published the video until yesterday because they want Black Americans angry. They want Black Americans to constantly believe that we're being oppressed and that white men are trying to kill us at every turn. They could have easily given the videos more context. They could have published the video of him entering the property. They could have told you about the 911 calls that were coming throughout the neighborhood, and everyone would have quieted down a little bit. But Black Americans are so reactive. We got people that are wearing I run with Maud t-shirts, showing up to protest, showing up, getting ready to riot if this person doesn't get this or doesn't get that, because we never pause to think. I could think of no other race that does this. Literally no other race that does this. Recently in New York City, a Jewish rabbi was stabbed in the head during a service, literally for being Jewish, by a black man in the neighborhood. And that was one example in a string of crimes that were being perpetrated by black people to Jewish people in the neighborhood. There was never, ever, ever any Jewish person that came out and said Jewish people literally are being attacked when they come out of their homes, are literally being hunted by black people. You want to know why they didn't do that? Because that's hyperbole. It sounds foolish. It sounds emotional. It sounds irrational. Okay. Yes, somebody did something, and it's a horrible thing when any person ends up dead. But to only speak about what has gone on confined simply to race, it's because of the color of their skin. It doesn't make us sound intelligent. It makes us sound angry and emotional and irrational. And we need to have a more honest discussion when these things happen. It is not always about race. It is not blacks murder whites and that's just murder. It is not, blacks murder blacks and that's just murder. And then the final clause is if a white person kills a black person, that's instantly the Ku Klux Klan racist lynchings coming back from the civil rights era. That's just ridiculous. From what I'm hearing, more is going to come out about this story. We already know that, Ahmaud Arbery has a history with mental health issues, that he's been arrested before. From what I'm hearing, there's a lot more to this story that people don't understand. And as I said, even if it comes out that he was responsible for burglarizing that entire neighborhood for a month, that doesn't necessarily justify people jumping in their truck and trying to make a citizen's arrest. But what it does should stipulate to at least everybody is that this situation is not about race. It's just about somebody being in your neighborhood that shouldn't have been on private property, someone calling 911, and things getting botched. So people, you can be upset with me. I really don't care. I've never been a person that cries when, oh my God, Candace, you didn't take the bait. Oh, Candace, you're not allowed to be black anymore because you didn't senselessly defend someone. You have to just, no matter what, you defend your own. That is stupid bottom feeding mentality. There are plenty of examples of innocent black people who are killed that I speak out about. Black on black crime obviously happens way more often. Over 90% of black people are killed by other black people, and there's never any riots, any protests, or any marching about it, because somehow if we do it to our own, it's okay. Just be more honest, have a more honest discussion about things, and stop taking the bait every election year. Like, how can it literally be every 4 years with this stuff and nobody's waking up? Grow up. Have a more adult conversation. Argue the real tenets of this case. I mean, there's plenty of room to debate, what happened here without pretending it's white America after black America again. Even the articles, by the way, we visited the neighborhood where this happened and there were Trump 2020 flags and MAGA flags in some of the windows. I mean, how can you be so gullible to not realize this is just about
Shalom Akiem Wa Akwath. This is Pastor Jerry Carter III. Wow. All right, first things first, let's bless our Elohim. Barakatah Yahweh, Baha Shem Yahweh Shai, Hamash Yahweh, Rawak HaKwadash. Zawada Rabbah Yahweh Elohim, we thank you for bringing us together one more time to worship you in the beauty of holiness. We ask you to get in the midst of these issues that we have going on among us, these 7 keys of Negro social platform success, the detestable behavior that is going on among our people, even in this hour of this bioterrorist criminal behavior that is a crime against humanity, that's killing off our people. We ask you, get in the midst of this thing and strengthen the community. Okay, strengthen our community to be more observant and also less reactive to situations that are taking place as hate crimes and criminal behavior is at another high level. We ask you to get in the midst of that and give us a better observatory mannerism. And also, when situations like this, we have people that are among us that are treaty breakers, that are, you can't, just because they look like you, that doesn't mean they are of you. They that look like Israel are not necessarily Israel. Just because we have Negroes among us that are blood-born Negroes, it doesn't mean that they are Hebrew Israelites that are for our community of people. So we ask you to be in everything that we do and say, let your name be exalted. These and all the blessings we ask by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Hamasha, Wa Rawah HaKodash, the Water Rabah Shalom. Geez, Candace. All right, so here we go with one of the 7 keys to Negro social platform success. Self-hatred of any kind. Bam. All right, so Candace Owens and the many others that are following this tone of mannerism, I just want to give you an update. If hate crimes, racially motivated hate crimes against Negroes, Hebrew Israelites, was not true, and if it was not real, and if it was not happening, why would there be an HR35 Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act bill that has been passed through Congress some 200 times, 150 years, okay? 150 years. Was it about 120, about 150 years since the Emancipation Proclamation, right? Or close to it. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe 175 years. Who cares? That's what these white people have been saying that has been attacking and destroying our people. It doesn't matter. Just throw it out. It's not true. Just throw it out. Candace Owens, I want you and the many others that are on the self-hatred train, I want you to go to any police department, okay? Any police department in America. And I want you to look at their rules of patrolling community. Their rules of patrolling the community, they are obligated. When they swear in to become obligated to literally hunt and patrol black men. And don't tell me I'm wrong, because I know many detectives, and I know many police officers, and I know many private investigators. It's already been disclosed. I'm in the ministry. I'm born and raised in the ministry. Our ministry is in the heart of the hood. I've communicated with many of law enforcement, and I've been thoroughly advised that that is their responsibility, to police or patrol the so-called black community or the impoverished community and make sure they keep an eye on black men. Don't tell me I'm wrong, not until you do your research, because right now I'm proving to you that you are wrong, and anyone else that jumps on your bandwagon, all of you are wrong. There are detectives and sergeants, master sergeants, lieutenants. They will all, if they don't admit that what I'm saying is true, it's because they're yet under the shield and they can't openly or publicly admit it. Okay? There are detectives, private investigators, okay, all over this country. There's a couple of them that has videos out. They literally disclose that their responsibility, in order for them to maintain promotions, in order for them to maintain employment, they have to go out and hunt black men. They have to go out and give them tickets, pull them over for no reason, make up something, break tail lights, break headlights, you know, your seatbelt isn't on the right way, you're leaning to the side, any and everything that, you know, your rear view mirror, anything that they can write up on a black man. These detectives and lieutenants have disclosed that is designed specifically to take black men off the street and give them tickets and lock them up. Reason being, because they know the average black man, by disenfranchisement, by removing business, by removing revenue, by removing employment, by removing education in the so-called black Negro community, by this behavior of white supremacy, they have already been given the description that the more than 75% of black men that they arrest are guaranteed not to be able to get out of jail, and they can rack up fines and they can rack up bills, they can rack up all kinds of expenses on them, and also they're guaranteed to have felony charges on them. Guaranteed felony charges. And felony charges merits promotions, merits retirements. So Candace Owens, before you go to the level of bringing more incrimination upon yourself, you need to do some more research, because this is straight mockery. This is self-hatred at the highest level. And I'm not attacking you, because I don't attack my own females at all. Okay? I'm not attacking you at all. I'm just stating some facts. There is an anti-lynching act, anti-lynching law that needs to be signed off by Donald Trump. Why don't you pursue that? Because lynching is yet taking place. There was just a home invasion in Carolina of a group of white Klansmen, racist white Klansmen, ran up in a black lady's house, okay, hunting down her son, and they had the wrong person. And they didn't care. They stayed in her house, and they was all loaded up with guns. And you're going to tell me that this doesn't happen in this hour, right? Okay. Now, the other thing is, LeBron James does not speak for me or any other Negro Hebrew Israelite in this country. LeBron James speaks for himself and those that desire to follow him. All right. I'm not a bandwagon type of person. All right. Regardless how broke I am or how rich I am, I'm not a bandwagon guy. Now, he doesn't speak for me, and none of them speak for me. All right. Real men don't need another man to be out there saying things for them. All right. Now, the other aspect is when it comes to construction and rehabs, renovations. I've been in that business for a very, very long time. In rural communities as well as populous communities, inner city, I have literally walked in and out of many vacant properties. Down south, up north, it doesn't matter. I walked in and out of many vacant properties. Okay? In and out of them. No sign that says no trespassing. I see the house is under construction. I want to take a look at the property. The doors are open. The property is wide open. If I want to walk in, I can take a peek inside and see what the deal is or whatever. If I'm interested in acquiring the property or something, guess what? I didn't trespass because there's no sign up that says no trespassing. Just because you have a surveillance video or a little private video, closed caption video camera, that doesn't mean that there's a sign that says no trespassing. Okay? So I've done this several times over a period of 30 some odd years. Okay? As a little guy, I've gone in and out of properties with my parents. As I got older, I've done it on my own. Okay? So as long as there's no sign up that says no trespassing, you can walk on the property and take a look. Okay? Why don't you go to Youngstown, Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio has thousands of vacant properties that you can walk in and out of, and no one says anything. All right. And that's just Youngstown, Ohio. There's many places in this country that has vacant properties, new construction or old dilapidated houses. It's not unusual. All right. What that brother did, if that was him that went in that house, it was not unusual. All right. And he left out of there without anything in his hands. All right. It's not unusual to walk in and take a look at a property that's wide open. All right. New construction or dilapidated. All right. In the real estate community, they call that bird dogging, when you go around house hunting. Okay. So just, you and your whoever is economically supporting your false ideology and false agenda, man, you guys are really way off. And don't you dare say that black men are not hunted. Black men are hunted down every day by the cops. That word cops means criminals on patrol. Criminals on patrol. Okay? And believe me, the cops that are hunting down our brothers, they are committing a crime, and they are on patrol to commit those crimes, which is the Hebrew Israelite, the Negro. Okay? This is statistically proven, documented. Even sergeants and lieutenants, I'm telling you, they have already put up videos. They have already put up information. I'm going to show you a video of a lieutenant. He clearly says that that's their job. Their job is to hunt down black men. And don't tell me that this stuff is not coming after black people. These agendas, because there are scientists and doctors, people with many letters behind the end of their names. They have put out video after video after video that says the first people that are under attack from this agenda are black people. Those of you black people in America, they're coming after you. Okay? And then they explain why. Look up Mike Adams. Mike Adams is a successful scientist and doctor. Mike Adams clearly says that the Flint, the lead, the heavy metals in the water in Flint, Michigan was an attack on black people. He said all of these problems that is happening with food and all of these GMOs, all of these vaccinated, he clearly says out of his own mouth that this is an attack on the black community. First and foremost, they always come after our people. What is so hard for you to understand about that? I put up the video. They own patents on coronavirus. The coronaviruses, the swine flu, SARS, MERS. If they own patents on all of those viruses, then they own patents on this current COVID-19 virus, which is of the same family of viruses. And who's dying? Who's losing their lives at the fastest? Who's the fastest? The ones that are rapidly losing their lives? Black people, Hebrew Israelites. So I need to give you a Bible lesson as well. What I want you to do, I want you to study, okay? I want you to study two queens in our Bible, in the Holy Scripture, two black females that look like you. The first one you study is Hadassah, okay? Hadassah spoke up to save her people, all right? Hadassah spoke up to save her people from becoming destroyed. I don't know if you fit that description. And then the next one I want you to study is Athaliah. All right, Athaliah or Athaliah. Her name is synonymous with her grandmother, who was Jezebel. All right. Now I want you to study them two black queens in the scripture, because Athaliah, her agenda was to kill off the seed royal among Israel, among Negroes. Is that you? Are you a modern day Athaliah? Are you trying to kill us off?
About making you angry and emotional in another election year. That's the part I don't understand. It's like, how can we just keep falling for it? Like, is there going to be like one year, like maybe 2028, where Black America's like, we've done this for the last 70 years. Something sounds off right now. Maybe it's not a lynching. Maybe other stuff went wrong, but it wasn't just a bunch of white people that wanted to kill Black people. I mean, I hope so. Sometimes I do get exhausted with it because people are just foolish and they take the bait all the time. And I'm just like, is Black America ever going to wake up and stop allowing themselves to be a punchline in a white liberal leftist narrative? So far, the answer is no. I'll wrap this by saying LeBron James is an idiot, and he always takes the bait, and it is why I tweeted that he will never be a Kobe, he will never be a Michael Jordan, because he just has never taken the time to simply educate himself, and he is always reactive and emotional. He is a great basketball player, but as far as that goes, that is really the extent of it in terms of his contributions to helping Black Americans evolve. Right? Not just giving out free money, not just building a charity, actually evolve. So you get to a point where you're not going to have to give out as much money. So you get to a point where you're not going to have to do as much charity, right? Because Black Americans have evolved mentally, right? Have gotten to a point where we're more successful academically, have gotten to a point where we can debate things, debate the actual facts of a situation, not the emotions of a situation. When Black Americans can step out of the media brainwashing, that's the sort of things, those are the sort of things that I look forward to in the future. And unfortunately, we live in an era of Black false prophets, and the ones that are trying to tell the truth get castigated. So I will leave it at that, and look forward to being castigated in the comments. Bye, guys.
For a while, when you're infiltrating, you're still technically a trainee. You could have been fired at any moment. For the first year, you can get fired for anything. You're just in pencil. It was during that time period where, like, even if I would have spoken out, somebody could have just been like, well, you're fired, see you later. You can't, like, when you're in that probationary stage, you can't upset the apple cart at all. You're going to be gone if you do.
Could you just describe sort of what you learned about police culture during those early days?
Yeah, you don't learn about it. You hear the past stories, and you see when a cop does something wrong, you see the unions and you see the politicians stand up for the officer. You don't see anyone stand up for the citizen. They just become a statistic, a number that you're going after.
That us versus them attitude, I mean, I understand how it is reinforced by, you know, the rhetoric that comes out of police unions, for example. How does it manifest itself in interactions that police have with people, like, on a daily basis?
Right, so that's even a misnomer in itself, that you walk the beat and talk to citizens.
Okay.
So no one does that. I would try to be friendly with people, but really the reality is if I spent an hour talking to a citizen, that was an hour that everyone viewed I should have been out getting statistics.
And what were those statistics that you should have been hitting?
So normally it's drugs, and that's your main focus, is drugs or Part 1 crimes, which would generally be felonies that have significant jail time. And guns, which is a misdemeanor, but that's a big thing here. So that's everything. Like there is no walking and talking to the community. That's what you do in policing. You're trying to do what keeps you out of trouble from all of the problems that are internal. Like, I never feared the streets, but I constantly feared other officers.
How has the climate sort of in the city shifted since Freddie Gray was killed and the riots happened? I mean, these people that we just passed, like, do they live in fear of police? They live across the street from where Freddie Gray was killed.
Right, so what they fear is that we can get away with whatever we choose to get away with. The laws are to the point where anybody can be locked up pretty much for any time. Like, one of the cases I did in the Senate in Maryland that I testified to was how you can't actually drive a car legally. I mean, it would be impossible. No one can get this car from here to the end of the street completely legally.
So an officer can arrest you at any moment?
At any point in time. So you're constantly ready to be a problem.
Do you want to go back to the story you were telling before? So you were called on the radio for backup.
I hear the call, and I'm not too far away from where we are right now. I'm in a position to head off the guy that's running. I get out of my car, get into a nice place, and corner the guy in an alley. He turns and sees me. We have a little bit of struggle. I put him on, we get on the ground. He gets the handcuffs on, and all in all, this is just like a passively resisting arrest. No cop should ever be upset when a suspect passively resists being taken to jail. That's what you should expect. And I got him down with the handcuffs, and the officer turned the corner to the alley and just kicked him in the face as hard as he could, it seemed to be, because his face swelled up instantly. He had a nice black eye. It was a contusion.
Why does he do that? What is the kick for?
All right, so I'm guessing, but my guess is that he's pissed off that he lost the foot chase. I mean, would I be pissed off if I lost the foot chase? Yeah, I've lost foot chases. It pisses you off.
So, I mean, everyone gets angry in their jobs, right?
Yeah, can you imagine if the cashier got mad that she rung up the thing wrong and decided to punch the customer in the face?
The key thing to understand, Mike told me, is that in many cases, the officers who treat people like that are doing so because they're afraid.
I have always thought that those are the ones that actually cross the line more. It's the ones that are afraid. And that's our standard in policing, is fear. So if you're afraid, you can do whatever you want. That's the legal standard.
Oh.
So if I am afraid that you can take my life, then I'm allowed to take yours legally.
Where does the fear come from then? Like in the guys that do have the fear, it sounds like you think that a lot of them, or most of them do.
They're pussies. I'm not afraid to say it. They were the people that were afraid before they came in, and just because you got a badge and a gun doesn't suddenly mean you're not afraid.
This is Esther, the 9th chapter, which is also the book of Hadassah. Hadassah, who was a black Hebrew Israelite queen, a Negro queen. Okay? Now, you decide. Which type of queen are you calling yourself? A sellout queen, or the queen that sacrifices all and saves her people? Okay? Change your rhetoric. Let's see. Esther the 9th chapter. This is what happens when our females speak up on our behalf. Now in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution. This is what we're talking about with the anti-lynching law. This is the anti-lynching law right here. Okay? This is the anti-lynching law written in our holy scriptures, HR35. So, those of you that call yourself queens, study this anti-lynching law before you call yourself a queen, or before you call yourself this black female queen, black female goddess, black female, you representing black people. Before you start blabbing off about that, read about the laws and statutes and commandments that our females stood up for in the Holy Scriptures. We're Hebrew Israelites. Negroes are Hebrew Israelites. We are the Yahwadim. You see every word in here that says Jew, that means Yahwadim. That means we are of the house of Judah. Let's see what the anti-lynching law says in Scripture. At the king's decree, the execution, in the days that the enemies of the Yahwadim hoped to have power over them, the clan, white supremacy, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Yahwadim had rule over them that hated them. The Yahwadim gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus to lay hold or lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces and the lieutenants, meaning the police department, the governors, okay, the mayors. Let's see if that's right. All the rulers of the provinces and the lieutenants and the deputies and the officers of the king helped the Yahwadim. So there was a time when, because someone like Donald Trump has the authority to sign the anti-lynching law, he can change all of these, all of this political atmosphere. He has that authority by signing this anti-lynching bill and holding these people accountable for hate crimes. Let's see how Ahasuerus held these people for hate crimes against the Yahwadim, against Negroes. Okay? He says, all the rulers of these provinces and the lieutenants and deputies and officers of the king helped the Yahwadim because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man, Mordecai, waxed greater and greater. That's not LeBron James. It's not Michael Jordan. It's not Kobe Bryant. It has nothing to do with any sports athlete that is not standing up for the Yahwadim, standing up for the house of Israel, standing up for the house of Judah, according to the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay? If they're not doing that, then it hasn't they can't fit the description of a Mordecai. Okay? Thus the Yahwadim smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. Okay? And in Shushan, the palace, the Yahwadim slew and destroyed 500 men, and Parshandatha, and Dalpan, and Asapha, and Paratha, and Adalia, and Aridatha, and Parmastha, and Arisa, and Aridai, and Vajeza, the 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hamadatha, okay, the enemy of the Yahwadim, slew they. But on the spoil laid they not their hand. The spoil is the reparations. $500 trillion of reparations that's passed due to us as a people because of this type of destructive behavior. People coming up with laws, legal tenets of how they want to destroy us as a people. Okay? And never restored us as a people. Disenfranchisement. Okay? Disenfranchisement of an entire nation of people. All right? Out and out massacres. Okay? That's what you need to look up, Candace Owens. All right, Miss Candace Owens, and those of you other sellouts, treaty breakers, you need to look up the disenfranchisement of our people and how this racist behavior went through this country. Every state in the continental U.S. has a massacre. Okay, every state has a record of a massacre of Negroes, Hebrew Israelites, by the racist white agenda. Okay, stop acting like this stuff is fake. All right. Let's continue. On that day, the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king. And the king said unto Esther, unto Hadassah, the queen. So all of you black females that are calling yourselves the queen, all of you black females that are calling yourselves queens, all of you black females that continue to call yourselves queens, which queen are you? Are you an Athaliah, a sellout? Or are you a Hadassah? The one that's crying out to the leadership to save your people. Which side are you on? Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, Jesus Christ? He said you have to choose you this day who you're going to serve, whether it will be Yahweh Elohim or whether it will be Mammon. And we know the scripture clearly says, the law clearly says that treasure, gold, silver, okay, anything of so-called significant value will change the heart of a priest, change the heart of a king, all right? It'll persuade them to say things go right against their own people, break treaties and all of that. Is that what's happening here? Somebody paid Miss Candace Owens to go on her platform and literally self-hate like that? Use her social platform to gain success by way of self-hatred? And the king said unto Hadassah the queen, the Yehowadim have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace, and the 10 sons of Haman. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now what is thy petition? What else you want me to do? This is what Donald Trump is supposed to be asking you, Miss Candace Owens. What else do you want me to do? I signed off the petition for the Anti-Lynching Act. Now there's vengeance that's taken out to set all of the police departments and legal structure in this country to stop destroying Negro men. Now what else do you want me to do? And you're supposed to say, well, I want you to put this $500 trillion reparation plan in effect immediately. He said, and it shall be granted thee. Or what is thy request further? And it shall be done. Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted that the Yehowadim which are in Shushan to do tomorrow also according to this day's decree, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows. And the king commanded it so to be done, and the decree was given at Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. And guess what? All of these race-hating Klansmen, all of these race-hating white supremacist, Gentile, heathen supremacist agenda, this is what Donald Trump is supposed to be signing off on. He's supposed to be signing off to stop them, to destroy that behavior, bring equality in the land. Okay? So those of you that do not agree with me, I don't care if you don't agree with me. I'm standing up for my own people. Because guess what? White people stand up for their own people. Okay? Spanish people stand up for their own people. The so-called Native American, the people that are called Indians, they stand up for their own people. Vladimir Putin stands up for Russians. They white. Okay? The Germans stand up for the German. The Grecians stand up for the Grecian. All right? Look at what happened with Ahmadinejad. He's not even in office anymore. And when that Wuhan hit Iran, he immediately issued a letter and put in a request demanding. He want to find out who is behind this agenda that's killing off his people. Okay? So what's the big problem with us saying the same thing? We want to know who's behind the agenda killing off our people. And we want it stopped. We want them brought to justice. What's wrong with that? You see, that's that hyperfeminism stuff that goes on among our females, where they have been taught. Okay, they have been taught and they have been branded. They have been institutionalized to try and suppress the voice of the alpha male Negro. That ain't happening with all men, with all Hebrew Israelite men. That happened with some of them, but not all of them. Let's continue reading. Thus, or in the 13th verse, then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Yehowadim which are in Shushan to do tomorrow also according to this day's decree, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows. And the king commanded it so to be done, and the decree was given at Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. For the Yehowadim that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day also of the month of Adar, and slew 300 men at Shushan, but on the prey they laid not their hand. They didn't even get any reparations. All they had was the anti-lynching law that said you have the right, the legal right, to bring justice upon they that were trying to destroy you. Okay? No money. We don't need money for justice. Reparations is what is past due for forced labor and disenfranchisement for hundreds and hundreds of years in this country. That's what a reparations is. All right? But to bring justice on hate crimes, we don't need money for that. We just need them to sign the law, the anti-lynching law, and put it in effect. Make these people be brought to justice. But the other Yahwadim that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives. So you're telling me that these people, our people that was walking saying, run with Ahmad, run with Ahmad. You're telling me that our people that was standing up, that's putting up this outcry, you're telling me that we can't do that. You're saying that it's wrong to speak up for your own people. You got to be kidding me. And then you're trying to compare this to one or two occurrences of some rogue Negroes that was not on their medication that ran up in some Jewish Ashkenazim houses and stabbed some people. That has nothing to do with this situation right here. Okay? We have been under attack as a people for 500 years in this new world. I don't understand what you can't see. There are elite institutions that have finally acknowledged and admitted that they took they took part in the slave trade. Okay, Georgetown University sold 272 of our ancestors, which is an elite university right here in America. They sold 272 of our ancestors, all right, to slave masters, to plantations. And that was brutal slave masters, including Georgetown was a brutal slave master. And on top of that, all right, Princeton University has a $25 million endowment because they participated in the slave trade. Okay. Brown University participated in the slave trade. The DeWolf family, they're the wealthiest people in this country because of the slave trade. All right. Stanford University participated in the atrocities of disenfranchising Negroes. All right. Harvard University participated in disenfranchising and enslaving Negroes. I could go down the list. I could sit in the House of Representatives or in the Senate or wherever. I could go down the list and call out every one of these universities, all right, that has participated in the slave trade against Negroes, Hebrew Israelites, and they all will have to put up an endowment. And you're going to tell me, you're going to tell your own people, you're going to go on your social media platform and tell your own people that this is not true. This behavior did not take place. This type of behavior is not accurate. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. There's no way you speak for our community. There's no way you speak for us as a people. All right? You're not a queen of our people, and you speak in hatred of your own. All right, you're not a king of our people, and you speak this self-hatred of your own people. You're treaty breakers and you're self-haters. You're using your platform to be self-haters. All right, and yes, this is a rebuke. We literally have the anti-lynching law right here in the scripture, and it need to be signed off on. And here you're gonna stand. You dare part your lips in this hour in 2020, dare part your lips and say that white people do not hunt down black men. White men do not hunt black men. White men do not. That's absurd for you to say that, knowing the history. And if you don't know the history, then don't go up on the platform, on your social media platform, and say things like that, because it is documented. Even other white men, they even admit that that's a behavior that's going on in this country, a history. And don't say it has nothing to do with the civil rights era, okay? Jim Crow era. None of it ended. We yet don't have civil rights, and we yet are under the Jim Crow era. They just took the words off of the buildings, but they yet carry on with the same mannerisms and behaviors. So the era is yet in existence. Let's continue. But the Yehowadim that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof. All right. And on the 15th day of the same, they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Let's go back up to the 16th verse. But the other Yehowadim that were in the king's provinces gathered together gathered themselves together and stood for their lives and had rest from their enemies and slew of their foes 75,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey. On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested they, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Yehowadim that were at Shushan assembled themselves together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day thereof. The same they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore the Yehowadim of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. Now I want you to go to that brother's mother. Okay? You self-haters. I want you to go to brother, this Akia Ahmad Arbery. I want you to go to his mother. All right? And I want you to tell her that wasn't a lynching. That wasn't a hate crime. I want you to go to her face and tell her that. You black queen. Okay? Go to her and look her in her eyes and tell her that those white people did not perform a hate crime on her son. Because he actually brought it on himself. He provoked them to grab their guns and come after him and shoot him down like an animal in the street. I want you to go to her face and tell her that. And you self-hating kings, Negro men, okay? You self-haters, you go to his father and tell him the same thing. Exactly. You're just going to stand behind your social media platform, your 7 keys to Negro social media platform success. That's all you're going to do. Let's continue. 19th verse. Therefore, the Yehowadim of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Yehowadim that were in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly, as the days wherein the Yehowadim rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning to a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts of the poor. And the Yehowadim undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Yehowadim, had devised against the Yehowadim to destroy them, and had cast Pawar, that is the lot. They paid money. They placed bets, okay, to consume them and to destroy them. All right. This is what your stock market consists of. Okay. This is what trading consists of, to make sure our people never get back up. All right. Stop acting like you're dumb. Stop acting like you're dumbfounded. Stop acting like you're walking down a blind hallway. Stop acting like you can't hear. Stop acting like you can't read the scriptures and realize the who's who and the what's what here. Okay? Our people are suppressed. Our people are destroyed. Our people have been under extreme confinement. All right? And here we have our own people that are on the self-hate agenda. There is a devised plan that is against our people to destroy them. Other white people stand up and say things that supports that. I don't understand how you can ignore that other white people, successful white people, some of them are willing to stand against the status quo. And they're like, look, this stuff is going after you black people. I don't understand how our own people, full of self-hatred, go on their platform and have the nerve to literally say that there's no agenda to destroy our people, and that crime, that type of criminal behavior is not a hate crime. That's wickedness. That's the enemy using you as a device. Okay? Because it says right here in the scripture in the 25th verse, but when Hadassah, a queen, came before the king, he commanded by letters, the Anti-Lynching Act, that his wicked device, which he devised against the Yehowadim, should return upon his own head, and that he and his son should be hanged on the gallows. Yeah, his voodoo ritual, satanic spell casting, it turned on him. And that's what I'm commanding right now. Okay? Those of you that are trying to destroy us as a people, trying to destroy Hebrew Israelites, Negroes as a people, that wicked device is going to come right back upon you, that same spell you're casting. He said, wherefore they called these days Power Arm, or Powarium, after the name of Powar. All right? Therefore, for all the words of this letter and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Yehowadim ordained and took upon them and upon their seed, which is us now, and upon all such as join themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing and according to their appointed time every year, and that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city, and that these days of Powaram or Powarium should not fail from among the Yehowadim, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. Then Hadassah, the queen, the daughter of Abiel, and Mordecai, the Yehowadim, wrote with all authority to confirm this letter of Powarium. And he sent the letters unto all the Yehowadim to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of shalom and quashat, words of peace, good health, abundance, rest. And it was true. It's not a lie. That's called the Anti-Lynching Act, the Anti-Lynching Law. There's white people staging themselves that run up in black folks' houses all the time. Okay, not all day, every day, but they anything to incite them to group up and go into a black person's house, they do it. And don't tell me it's not true, because I just referenced earlier that a group of white men went into a black person's house down in the Carolinas this past weekend. Okay? This past weekend, a group of white men with guns went into the black man's house without authority, without a search warrant. None of them had any authorization or jurisdiction to go inside of that person's domicile. Let's continue. It says, to confirm these days of Powarium in their appointed times, or times appointed according as Mordecai the Yehowadim and Hadassah, the queen, had enjoined them, and as they had decreed for themselves and for their seed the matters of the fastings and their cry, and the decree of Hadassah confirmed these matters of Powarium, and it was written in the book. So I'm reading it to you. I read you the anti-lynching bill, the anti-lynching law in this book. It's called the Book of Hadassah or Esther. Okay, and you're going to tell yourself and others that your acts of self-hatred is justified. Are you aware what Yahweh Elohim will do because of treason? We got to stop this stuff. Shalom. 2 Kings, the 11th chapter. 2 Kings, the 11th chapter. I'll do a little bit of reading here that, it's not widely researched among our people in this hour, and it's not widely researched, period, not widely ministered. So let's see what 2 Kings, the 11th chapter, has to say here in regards to how a quote-unquote black queen, a Hebrew Israelite queen is supposed to operate, out in the public. Let's see here. And when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash the son of Ahaziah and stole him from among the king's sons which were slain, and they hid him, even him and his nurse, in the bedchamber from Athaliah, so that he was not slain. And he was with her, hid in the house of Yahweh 6 years, and Athaliah did reign over the land. Get understanding, y'all. We have black queens that was self-hating right here in the scripture. What you see with our females, Hebrew Israelite, black females today that carry on with self-hatred, such as what Miss Candace Owens was doing. All right. This is not new among our people. This is not new behavior. All right. This is a scream or a cry out for self-hatred and attention. You want the attention, you got it. Just like Athaliah. Let's continue reading. In the 7th year, Jehoiada sent and fetched the rulers over hundreds with the captains and the guard, and brought them to him into the house of Yahweh, and made a covenant with them, and took an oath of them in the house of Yahweh, and showed them the king's son. And he commanded them, saying, This is the thing that you shall do. A third part of you that entered in on the Sabbath shall even be keepers of the watch of the king's house, and a third part shall be at the gate of Shor, and a third part at the gate behind the guard. So shall you keep the watch of the house, that it be not broken down. Why? Because Athaliah was a self-hating, self-righteous queen. Wanted to see brothers, regardless if they was living holy or not. She wanted to see her own people slain. Kill off the seed royal. We are the royal seed in this earth, and we have females among us that's carrying on with this type of behavior, yet carrying on with this type of behavior. Let's continue. He said, and 2 parts of all of you that go forth on the Sabbath, even they shall keep the watch of the house of Yahweh about the king. And you shall compass the king round about, every man with his weapons in his hand. And he that cometh within the ranges, let him be slain. And be ye with the king as he goeth out and as he cometh in. All right. You see, Jehoiada, he had to set up military. He had to set up, special forces to help protect our men, because she was rooting up females as well as herself. She was trying to kill off all the royal seed. And if it wasn't for Jehosheba, who was a queen, a princess of her own, if it wasn't for her, then we wouldn't even be here today. Okay, there'd be no questions. There'd be no understanding. All right, there'd be no questions about who Israelites are today, and you can get an answer that we are the Israelites today. There would be no resolutions of where the royal seed of the children of Israel is located today, if it wasn't for Jehosheba. All right, who was a princess herself. And she had to run and hide because Athaliah, she, a wicked queen, a self-hating wicked queen. All right, let's continue. And the captains over the hundreds did according to all things that Jehoiada the priest commanded. And they took every man his men that were to come in on the Sabbath, with them that should go out on the Sabbath, and came to Jehoiada the priest. And to the captains over hundreds did the priest give King David spears and shields that were in the temple of Yahweh. And the guard stood every man with his weapons in his hand, round about the king, from the right corner of the temple to the left corner of the temple, along by the altar and the temple. And he brought forth the king's son, and put the crown upon him, and gave him the testimony, which is the law, statutes, and commandments. And they made him king, and anointed him, and they clapped their hands and said, Yahweh, save the king. All right? And get this understanding. The reason why Jehoiada had to put the military, put our own security guards in place, was because Athaliah had some other Negroes that was right along with her that was also trying to kill off our people. Self-hating. This is self-hatred at the highest level. A lot of people don't even teach about this stuff or minister this stuff because they don't want to associate it directly with our people. But I teach this stuff. I minister this stuff because we gotta root these demons out. That's a demon that's making our females and our men self-hate like that. That's a spirit of self-hatred at the highest level. And then have the audacity to go on social platforms and publicly disclose that behavior. Let's continue. And when Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she came to the people into the temple of Yahweh. And when she looked, behold, the king stood by a pillar, as the manner was, and the princes and the trumpeters by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced and blew with trumpets. Athaliah rent her clothes and cried, Treason, treason. And that's exactly what we observed happen this past weekend. One of our own, self-hating, on social platform, okay, crying treason. And that is the one who is the treaty breaker. That is the one who is the sellout. But Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains of the hundreds, the officers of the host, and said unto them, Have her forth without the ranges, and him that followeth her kill with the sword. So you see, she wasn't alone. So there's somebody that's behind this agenda with Mrs. Candace Owens that's helping push that agenda of self-hatred. And they're not all white folks either. For the priest has said, Let her not be slain in the house of Yahweh. So you can't go into a church where there's a legitimate minister or legitimate preacher that's teaching this scripture like I'm teaching right now and think you can carry on with that self-hatred agenda in the midst of your own people. That ain't happening. That brother has to stand up and protect the people. That means there's a sellout in the midst. Okay? And that's not how we roll. I don't care if the brother committed the crime. I don't care if the brother had performed the home invasion and stole all kind of merchandise. There was a group of other racial demographic group of men that was literally hunting him with guns. This brother has 0 weapons in his hand. He has 0 things of theft in his hand, no contraband in his hand. And you're going to jump on the side of that pickup truck and you're going to say that brother stopped and intentionally tried to fight those guys. You must be out of your mind. The brother was fighting for his life. Okay? They hunted him down. They was driving looking for him. Okay? They drove hunting him down. You can see the evidence in the camera. The guy in the car or whoever was in the car with the video camera, they could have stopped this whole activity. I've done it myself in the past. That person driving the car could have literally got out of the car and began to decry, scream, and say something before those guns blasted. But no, that person in the car needed to be brought up on the same murder charges, aiding and abetting. Okay? They were all in on it together. Lynch mob behavior. All right? So you're going to tell me, you're going to tell our community that you're taking sides with the lynch mob, with that behavior. Let's see what the scripture has to say about this. For the priest had said, let her not be slain in the house of Yahweh Elohim. And they laid hands on her, and she went by the way by the which the horses came into the king's house, and there was she slain. There was she slain. Okay? Meaning that she died a despicable death, and nobody had no respect for her. So let's see what else is said here. And Jehoiada made a covenant between Yahweh Elohim and the king and the people, that they should be Yahweh's people, between the king also and the people. And all the people of the land went into the house of Baal and broke it down, because that's called the house of witchcraft. That's what this is. You're casting spells. Okay? To put up a video that literally says that this guy, this brother, an Israelite brother, okay, that could have very easily been born out of your own loins, all right, you're going to say that he provoked this. You're going to say that those guys that was riding herd on those trucks were not actually out to destroy him. But they had guns, and we know guns destroy people. Let's continue. That's witchcraft. That's some voodoo. You casting spells. And all the people of the land went into the house of Baal and broke it down. His altars and his images broke they in pieces thoroughly, and slew Matan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. So there's somebody that's encouraging this and inciting this, that's perpetuating this self-hatred right along with you, that's encouraging you to continue to put this kind of foolishness out there. And there's an anti-lynching law that need to be signed off by Donald Trump. And instead of you using your platform for that, you're using your platform to detest your own people. It's crazy. And the priest appointed officers over the house of Yahweh Elohim. And he took the rulers over hundreds and captains and the guard and all the people of the land. And they brought down the king from the house of Yahweh Elohim and came by the way of the gate of the guard to the king's house. And he sat on the throne of the kings. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was in quiet. And they slew Athaliah with the sword beside the king's house. 7 years old was Joash when he began to reign. So get this understanding. Every one of you that's going around with this self-hatred agenda, every one of you that's going around that's trying to tear down your own people, all right? Guess what happens with Negroes? You're trying to tear down Negroes. You're trying to tear down Hebrew Israelites. You're trying to destroy your own people from the inside out. Well, guess what? Yahweh Elohim says this. All right? All of them, every one of them, will be brought down. Okay? He will bring them down. He's gonna. This here is self-explanatory. He said, "I'll bring them down. I'll cast them all down." All right? This temple of Baal. We'll cast them all down. We'll destroy all of it. Okay? So, don't think for 1 minute Yahweh Elohim doesn't see what y'all doing. Don't think for 1 minute he doesn't know that there's an agenda of our own people that's selling out our own people. Treaty breakers. We will prevail. We will stand up. Okay? We will take possession of our own. We will be our own nation. We will be our own people. We are our own. We are our own nation. Our king is Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, Jesus Christ. And for those of you that do not stand for your own people, you are a sellout. And I promise you, them two dudes on the back of that truck, I promise you, their wives, their daughters would never go on social media or go on TV anywhere and put that nonsense out there like you did.